You're listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game. Hello, and welcome, everyone. Definitely one of the things on the to-do during the preseason, off-season is get the graphic fixed, because I did some upgrades and things are out of whack, and it's not good. We need the graphics. Need to look cool. But welcome, everyone. I did a little computer upgrade this weekend, so I hope some of the streaming and the quality has improved. But please do, of course, with an upgrade, let me know how how the sound levels are. Just a quick check here before we get started. The behind the scenes, the benefit of coming here onto the YouTube stream. Of course, for those of you who are joining us here, we are live pretty much every Monday, depending on how the games are lining up, or some schedules sometimes. And we are talking about the official MLS fantasy game with the tips for the upcoming round. We're live on Mondays to help prepare for that. So like and subscribe. It definitely helps. And if you join us, you can also sometimes see Blayne's 3D printer working in the background. So the funny little bonuses that you do get. But yes, please do like and subscribe. It helps a whole lot, and check out all the projects that we have going on. We are wrapping up the season, so Blayne and I will be here with you all today. I'm not seeing anyone saying that my volume is not good, and Blayne can hear me. And the little volume meter is a moving on the OBS studio, so I'm going to go with that. We are doing okay for this round, and we will just good. Thank you, Eric. And we will just get ready.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 28. This episode is brought to you by 3 Spoons, 1 Shield. Oh, no, wait, no. Actually brought to you by our amazing MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon community. It's because of you that we are able to keep this project going. Learn more at patreon.com/MLSFI. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partner in fantasy, Blayne Riffle. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Happy to have you back. I know you were unable to join us last week, but this week Ashley is unable to join us with some stuff she has going on. So this is our penultimate fantasy tips episode, so with hope you will both be able to be here next week. But don't worry, we will still have one more episode coming out after our final tips episode, because we will be doing sort of a breakdown and relook back at the season. We'll get a poll out about what your hopes and dreams are for the upcoming fantasy season. So you've at least got 2 more episodes of us. There'll be a bit of a gap between our final tips episode and our fantasy recap episode, just so we can make sure we have time to collect information, and just a little bit of a break from the week to week as we get things ready to enjoy the playoffs ourselves. But of course, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with the brought to you by, but the Shield, baby. Who would have thought going into this season Cincinnati has the Shield? It's absolutely bonkers. So that's basically my takeaway from this round, is we got the Shield, which for a while I was a little worried when it was a 2-2 draw in Cincinnati. So be careful. The main takeaway I have is going to be about that. But Blayne, I know you had a rough week last week, and I gave Ashley the opportunity to give you a little bit of ribbing. Is there any initial response that you want to have before we get into our expectation and reality?
Yeah, so I missed the show, didn't have a lineup set until game day. And we always have our host chat going, and we share our lineups for the week. And last week I just took a flyer and went full double game week all the way through. And Ashley's comment was full double game week ? And I said, yeah, why not? And she said, because the teams suck. And when we get to the scores part, you'll find out full double game week was not a bad play at all last week.
Well, we won't let people have to wait too long, so I will be quick with my recap. I did not go full double game week, though I was very pleased. A strong showing, a fantastic bench. I ended up with 134 points on the round. That was a good takeaway for me. It was Overall rank, I moved up to 74. Week rank 374 as well. So definitely could have scored higher. People who did have some different player selections. I had a miss with Tolkien on the bench, and then Gazdag and Heel also did not do amazing for me in my field. But my bench was fantastic with Blake, Max from Colorado, Bassett from Colorado, and White from Vancouver. Did absolutely big things. I know we talked a lot about which Colorado midfielder we might be willing to take a fly on, Ronan or Bassett. For me, it landed to Bassett for some of his consistency. Ended up being Ronan, who was the better option and actually one of the best captain picks potentially for the entire round, with 20 points, I believe, for him on the round. So I was very pleased with this. I did end up going with Blake when I saw that Carranza was not in the starting lineup. That made it easy for me to go with he in the background and not have to worry about a keeper or any kind of shenanigans after I saw what his 2 scores were, which was why I had LAFC in my lineup in the beginning to just preview that right there. The 2 main takeaways I have are we are inclined at this point of the season often to just start writing off teams who have not made the playoffs. We looked at that with Colorado. We looked at that with Toronto and some other teams right there, and that is just not the case. We saw some of the quality that Colorado was able to put up. I think a lot of that is motivated by some of the fan movements that are going on there right now, but also Toronto. It was a bit of a nail biter for me at some point with Cincinnati having that 2-2 draw, being like, oh my gosh, I just need those points. But do check out the standings page. We have a filling out lists, at least if you're in the East. If you're in the East, we have almost a complete picture of what the playoffs are going to look like. Everyone's filled out except for the wildcard spots, the 8 and 9 right there, currently occupied by New York City FC and Montreal. But DC and Chicago are right in the heat. Potentially the Red Bulls as well. Maybe a long shot prayer for Miami and Charlotte, but I'd be very, very surprised. Toronto is eliminated, though, officially. Not as clear in the West. St. Louis is the only team to have officially secured that number 1 spot where they are locked in at. But things are definitely up for grabs still with the positioning as people jockey for those various advantages from the 3 tiers that are there. So keep an eye on what's going on. That's going to be motivating a lot of teams, especially as we have this big multi-game week this round. I know that there's a lot of speculation right now about, is this a double or is this a triple game week? So I hope you've stayed with my little my little monologue right now to get this part. And I'm so sorry, but this will not be a triple game week. I know we kind of teased it to get some of the views and the retweets, but confirmed with Skylar that round 28 will not be the elusive triple game week. The games slated for October 14th, that's Saturday, will disappear from this round. So Nashville, New England, and LA Galaxy will not, I repeat, will not be playing a triple game week. And honestly, I don't know if we want them to, because can you imagine what the rotations would be? I know there's like a week apart from Saturday to Saturday, but that would be, if it was actually within one single game week, that rotation would be absolutely bonkers. So I hope that does not shatter the hopes and dreams for too many people, and we shall see. But yes, that's my takeaway. Be sure to check the standings. We'll be seeing some more rotations. Absolutely, that's what's going to be happening with Cincinnati. It's a statement that's already out there as we're planning for the playoffs. So we'll see some rotations. So factor that into who you may be targeting for these final 2 rounds, and just remember who's in, who's out, and potentially who's playing for a home field advantage spot as well. That is also so key for the beginning of this season. Blayne, I will let you go before Ashley so that you can give us the benefits of your wisdom.
So I was going to say, takeaways for the round, we're at peak because MLS time. Like, this is everything that can go wrong for you will go wrong. Teams are going to grab results that you don't expect. I love this time of year. I love what Colorado is doing right now. They were fantasy viable for me this week, which is why I loaded up. But these are guys playing for contracts. They may or may not be there next year with Colorado. They may or may not get offers from other teams. And these are guys that are playing for their careers in a lot of ways. When you're on a bad team that's eliminated from the playoffs, you have nothing to lose. Go make a name for yourself. And guys like Ronan and Bassett are doing that. They're showing why they belong in MLS, why they belong where they are. I actually got a 157 on the round, which was good enough for week rank 17, and that's with Bassett over Ronan. I went with a little bit more reliable, and he had a little bit better average over the last three. But I basically took a defender from each team, threw one of them on the bench, and rolled with it. And surprisingly, Gazdag got a 5 as my worst scoring player for the round. And I don't think anybody really expected that one. I think he was benched for the first part of the first game, so if I had seen that in time, I probably would have switched it up a little bit. But no, I got 8s and 9s as my lowest on the field, other than Gazdag. Everybody else was double digits, double game week bonus points, base points, averages, all hit. A couple of clean sheets come through, and you're flying high on that one. It seemed weird, but I didn't like any of these other matchups for the round as well. And that's that because MLS are playing good teams. I know Cucho I saw was a popular pick, but they had home game against Philly, defense that's hit or miss. It just didn't trust Cucho to outscore, say, Brian White, who has been in form, or take two bites at the apple with somebody else. It really felt like one of those weeks where I didn't identify any single game week matchup that was just a home run, gonna go pick up my points in that game. I mean, maybe I should have looked a little closer at Orlando City with Facundo Torres. That one seems on paper like, okay, yeah, that was a good one. But then you get LAFC at home who gets shut out to RSL. Like everything that was my fallback on all of my bench plays. If my bench didn't hit, I was going to look heavy at LAFC, and they didn't do it. So take those bonus points where you can. But this is a classic because MLS week. Scores are all over the place. Some guys really went off that you could kind of expect, but we had a lot of random stuff everywhere. Like I did not expect Toronto to get 2 goals on Cincinnati.
Me both.
But it happened, and we're in that crazy time of year. So my big takeaway going forward is expect the unexpected and try to pick the more sure things as you see them, and take the safety plays if you're in position or whatever, because teams are going to be all over the place trying to do what they have to do to move around the table, and guys are fighting for long-term career success when they're borderline eliminated at this point.
Well done. I think you were a bit kinder to Ashley than she was to you in the good-natured ribbing, but definitely appreciated. Ashley ended up the round with 118 points. She made a super poor choice and started Mukhtar over Klaus, which stranded 13 points on her bench. She, like I, also started Tolkien, which felt dumb to her even before they lost the shutout. So she dropped to 79th overall and 39th in the Champions League. So she's hoping to make it up this week. Definitely possible. I know I won all of my head-to-heads, maybe all but one with the score that I had. Got a definitely a good revenge on lineup IQ with Ryan with the win this week. But I tell you, Blayne, I don't know what you keep up with the Sporting Kansas City League, but I feel like I am always a bridesmaid, never a bride when it comes to the FC Cincinnati official league. I'm sitting in at number 2 overall there behind Riverwatch FC, who the name is Wiedemann, maybe Andrew Wiedemann, which has some history too. I'm going to have to dig into that one and figure out exactly if that's right. But definitely a close race for second or third. I'm hoping to at least get the silver in that league. But hits for Ashley, Klaus and Osorio with a brace on a single game week. Basically all the Colorado DGW players that she had, I agree, they came in very clutch for us. Missed on Heel, missed on Mukhtar, but she said probably just her. I know I avoided that one. And the Vancouver defense, which I will say we went a little bit back and forth about that, with some potentially going with Vancouver on the defense or in as a keeper spot for the keeperoo. They don't keep clean sheets. They just don't keep clean sheets. And so while they may only give up one goal that usually comes in about one a game, they don't keep clean sheets. And so ultimately for me at the end, I just abandoned that idea with Blake. And so I think we're going to have some of that conversation again this week. But that's why I did not go for anybody with Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver for me was a safety pick on defense. I went with Vess, and I mean he got me an 8, but he'd been a bonus point guy. I mean he pulled a 4 and a 4, and that was with the -1 for goals allowed on both games. He's picking up bonus points consistently, and again, we always talk about it. Double game week defenders are worth grabbing if they pick up even a handful of bonus points. You get that 6-7 mark. You just need a few bonus points in each game, and you're at that 6-7, and that's a successful week for most clean sheet hunting defenders. I mean, it's not going to compare to some of your really big bonus point single game week guys, but I'd take a safety play on an 8 pretty much any week I can get it for a defender.
We shall see. We'll have definitely more of that double game week top coming up. But first, we're going to do a quick recap of some housekeeping in our league standings for this upcoming round 28 right after this.
No, I'm nice to Ashley. I'm not going to give her too much. I mean, I can't say a whole lot. My overall rank is 739. I mean, I don't really have much room to talk to somebody who's ranked top 100.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to message Andrew Wiederman and be like, are you playing fantasy soccer? Do you want to come on my podcast? See if that works. Get a retired pro player to come on there. All right, let's see here. Let me get I got distracted. Let me get the social going. It's the original ones on Twitter. Let me get the mid-round. Again, as I say all the time, latest episode. Right there. And post, missing my little macros. So much. I don't know if you all can hear my son going all full-on water buffalo above us. I just hear thump thump every now and then. I love it. I love hearing that sound, to be honest. And let me get the copy URL and paste. All right, there is the social out on Twitter again. So if you did not already share the original one, appreciate so much if you would share and retweet that one there, as we're going to get ready to start talking about housekeeping. Welcome back. We're here to talk about housekeeping for round 28. Skipped out on the league updates for the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to give a very quick one right now, at least going to touch the Champions League. Blayne, I don't know if you have yours. Ashley didn't get hers in right now, but
Pull it up.
big shout out to Sloppy Steaks with a record of 19-0-8, who is currently leading the Pro Rel Champions League. I think that one's pretty locked up there, but definitely some fighting right there. Don't forget, top three places get prizes in the Pro Rel Champions League, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, everyone else has the opportunity to advance within the Champions or within the Pro Rel system. Do you have an update, Blayne, about the Homegrown League?
Yeah, Tinseltown FC is on top right now with a 22-0-5.
Good score.
66 league points. Second place has got 65, and third place has got 64. So that race that was wide open a while back has really tightened up here at the tail end. And it looks like everybody, those top 3, 4, 5 guys are all in play in these final weeks.
And sorry, nothing from the Veterans League right now. We'll get that from Ashley next week. Don't forget, these leagues do not have a playoff system in place because I need to actually track. I think I mistakenly did that last year and it kind of screwed things up. Lesson learned. But would need to have the full table to find out the promotion relegation. So no playoff here. Over to our other leagues, the Discord League, Rockin' Nate's Folly with 24-0-4 is winning by points in the Discord League. Also in the Patreon League, Rockin' Nate's Folly is winning with a record of 22-0-4, so very similar right there. And that's also by points, so things could still change in those two leagues. And then over in the MLS Fantasy Insider Experts Invitational, there is a playoff in that league. That just makes it so much fun. The final table standings in the host invitational had Black and Red finish on top with 60 points. After him was myself with 55, and then Donuts with 54, and then Ryan Anderson from Lineup IQ also tied with 54 points, but the tiebreaker put him in 4th place. Ashley rounded it off at 5th. Going into the semifinals, though, Black and Red is playing Ryan Anderson in this next round, and then I am going head-to-head against Donuts. So that is going to be a very tough semifinal right there. I, of course, cannot win prizes, so you're pretty much looking at your top 3 winners right there for the round. But looking forward to see who goes on the list of names. And I'm going to try to get a plaque or something worked up so we can have a nice little like hold it up and just record the full history of the hosts invitational right there. But that's that quick recap going in. Now we're going to start talking about round 28, the details. First, in case you missed it in our first section, there is no triple game week. The second set of games that are currently on the list as of Monday night, that second Saturday, those will be going off. And so Nashville and New England and LA will not have a triple game week, so that will not be part of this round. Don't fall for that. Besides that, the games will start Wednesday, October 4th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our usual Apple TV kickoff, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30 games. You definitely have the ability to get some keeperoos going for this round, though getting it over the 2 days may be tough. The second set will be Saturday, October 7th, which is Baby Roo's birthday, so I will be busy that day, but that is at 7:30 p.m. as well with, again, our usual Apple TV lineup. A bunch of teams are playing both of those times. Nobody is on a bye, but not everyone is on a double. The single game week teams this week are RSL, New York City FC, Portland, San Jose, and Sporting Kansas City. Of the double teams, the double home games are Austin, Chicago, FC Dallas, Montreal, Philadelphia, and Seattle. The double aways are Columbus, Colorado, Toronto, and LA Galaxy. Then everyone else is a home away rotation on that list. So, again, don't forget, triple game weeks, not a thing. Nobody's on a bye. And then for the switcheroo options, just head over to MLS Fantasy Boss's Discord server, go down to the fantasy resources, fantasy tools, and check out the mega reference. There is a tab that has safe switcheroo options. It lists the players who are still in the game but are no longer in the league, so they will 100% not play. We don't have the prices listed, but you can find players to fit your spots, and pricing hasn't been too difficult. I know at one point I only had 1.5 million extra, but with a couple of scrubs thrown in there, it's not going to be a problem for what you're doing. So check that out over in the mega reference on MLSFantasyBoss.com. All the tournaments are over, so don't have to worry about that. And otherwise, we're getting into our suspensions and injury reports. Do you have any updates, Blayne?
I do not.
I think one of the most important ones that we can mention is that Gazdag did get a yellow card in this last double game week, so he will be on a yellow card suspension for what you may be looking at for your Philadelphia players. I'm sure some others did. That was just one when I was setting my lineup I was being sure to be aware of. But again, check that out. Tomorrow is likely when MLS will get that updated, but continue to go over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord channel so you can find out what the... I said Gazdag. I meant Wagner. He is out. Sorry. Thank you, Christian, for catching that. Gazdag just played 45 minutes in the second game. He was on my mind as well as being disappointed. But yes, it was back on defense that we got the yellow. But like I was saying, check all that out over at MLS Fantasy Boss's Discord channel for the mega reference, and that will be updated by dedicated community members to make sure we have the most up-to-date information as possible, which is just tough to get that on Monday. So it is okay, everyone. Let's see here. Is there any other updates, Blayne, that you have for going into this week before we get into our...
Not really. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I do see that the yellow card warnings, the accumulation warnings, is pretty long on the disciplinary website before last week's games. So definitely keep an eye on those. There's some big names on there that could be out if they pick up one on the first one. That list is huge right now.
Yeah, and we'll see about trying to get some of that. I mean, it's near the end of the season. People have some schedules that are going crazy, so it's we do pretty well at getting it updated on Mondays most of the time, but when these double games just hit back to back, it can be can be kind of
Yeah.
rough. So check it out, though. That community is there as a resource and very friendly, very happy to help. The easiest way to get to our Discord server and find this information is to head to MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord and just click join right there in that link. It's fun, it's easy, and it's free. That's the best thing of all. It's free. But enough talking about all the details and some of the takeaways. Now we're going to get into talking about the players who we are targeting for this upcoming round 28. I guess I should add right after this. Oh, is he? I missed that about Hector Herrera. That's a good one to make sure we mention.
Yeah, he was on the yellow card warning list from last week, so if he picked up one, I didn't check to see if he did.
I hadn't originally targeted him with my team, so that's a good one to keep an eye on. That's why I didn't catch that one. Thank you, Christian. All right. Oh, just got the social again. Social. Here we go. Social. Scroll down. Copy. Post. And there is the social. There you go. I don't know. Did any of you all see the voting that was going on for best third kit? It ended up being LA Galaxy's third kit that won as best third kit of all time, which was like a black kit with gold highlights. So essentially, the Columbus Crew home kit won best third kit, and it's awful. It is so awful. Ashley and I had a huge rant about it. I'm sure we'll come back and mention it next week, but yeah, if any of you all saw the voting that MLS did for the best third kit of all time, it was horrendous and awful and a huge injustice to any of the other decent kits, or just awful kits that might have had a chance to win because they were so bad. Like, yes, a black kit with gold highlights won as the best third kit. Ridiculous. Sorry, that's a complete tangent.
I mean, there have been a lot of great third kits. I mean, I've always been partial to Sporting's Argyle stuff, but I mean, if you're going to go as simple as black with gold highlights when you've got all sorts of unique kind of themed stuff, that's crazy.
It's ridiculous. All right, here we go. Hello and welcome back. We're talking about our initial player targets for round 28, the penultimate round of the 2023 MLS Fantasy season. And we're going to start off, as we do every week, with keepers and defenders. Blayne, who do you like?
Yeah, I may be taking a little bit different track than some people. Even if Herrera is suspended, I kind of like Clark for Houston this week. One of those weird ones. I think the matchups at Montreal is not the worst game in the world, and then home to Colorado. And I know I've been a little high on Colorado lately. I just feel like that's one of the better sets of matchups for any of the keepers on a double. His average has been pretty good. He gets some saves. The shots are coming at him. He's not like a Blake who has nothing to do half the time. So he's either picking up a clean sheet or just a couple of bonus points. I think he's got a little bit more chance. And I just struggled to find anywhere else that I really wanted to use my keeper spot on. I don't even think I have a second keeper. Not going to try to run a keeperoo. Maybe I'll throw somebody in there on the back end, but I didn't like what I was seeing later in the week. I didn't like the matchups anywhere for any of the late games, especially over two, more than I liked getting Houston at home to Colorado. So I think I'm just going to roll with it. Given that it's looking like Wagner is suspended and or injured or both, I think we drop him off my list, which also drops Philly's defense completely off my radar. So I'm looking at Barrial, Lennon, and then Reagan for Seattle on the double home. His average and bonus points has been there. I think that gives him the edge over a more attacking-minded guy like Roldan. And then Lennon coming off of a longer break. They had the bye last week, so Atlanta didn't play He should be fresh and ready to go. Don't mind these two games too much. And then Barreal is just Barreal. He's been one of the more reliable guys. I don't think the matchups are terrible here, home to Red Bulls and at Miami. But just taking some of the guys we've come to trust and hoping for the best with some steady guys and not getting burned somewhere else.
Yeah, so Ashley sent in some of the players she was targeting. And yeah, a little bit different. She is looking at Paz and Fry. So she's looking at going down with Dallas again. Double home game. Definitely more tempting this week than the double away game. And they did have some production. So um, defense there with Paz. And then Fry, a little. I would have loved to have heard Ashley have a little bit of comments about Seattle since she has been so hesitant to get Seattle this year. But home to LA, home to Vancouver. The Vancouver's a big one, and so these are definitely some big matches for them. And depending on who LA is able to field, will play a lot into their strength. I know that Pooch wasn't able to play last week due to that knock he did have. I know I had questioned it some if he was really injured or not with the way they were talking about it. He did not play, so we'll see what his availability is for that. Filling out her back line, she also has Lennon, Alex Roldan, Hollingshead, Tafari, and Barreal there. Again, she is not here to hear what we were talking about with Cincinnati. I'm hesitant with Cincinnati. You could definitely check and see what that lineup will be, but Pat Noonan has already said that they will be managing minutes. Essentially, they'll be looking at lineups. They'll have some changes. So they are focused on the Cup now. They've got the Shield. They're good, and so now it's about keeping players healthy for MLS Cup, and so that's definitely going to impact some of these key players going into these final three games. So I am hesitant about Barreal because of that. He wasn't one of my lineups, but I've taken him out because just really trying to think. I too like Seattle. I think those are some games they can win. Gomez is the player who I like. He has some good bonus point production as well there. And I would even double down on that Dallas defense. I do have a pause as well. I'm looking at a Crepeau Keeperoo option that lets me at least see the Dallas against Colorado game. I am betting against Colorado some here. I know they had some success last week, but that's a matchup I'm interested in entertaining to see how that lines up. But I'd like to see how that only gives me those 10:30 games, and I don't know. I could be convinced to go with Fry. My first thought was looking at LAFC as a backup, but any of those 10:30 games would work. If that doesn't work, I could also look at Montreal. Did not realize that Hector Herrera was out until Christian mentioned it right before we started this segment. But with him missing, somebody from Montreal, even Montreal defense, might be someone who I'd be willing to entertain, especially since they have that double home second game against Portland, which could be good for them. So we can see how that lines up. But I think there are a lot of options that you have with defenders this week. You could definitely also go with Houston. You could look at some Vancouver teams if you want to, but I hesitate to go with Vancouver unless you're trying to get some bonus points because they just don't keep clean sheets, and that's it'll happen this week. They'll get two in a row, and it's going to be just a windfall of points for them. But I am hesitant to go with Vancouver defenders because of that. But if you like some bonus point options, you definitely can. You could even take a look at RSL if you wanted to go another single game week team. I think with the double game week options, it's ample. But I mean, if you want, I guess, but don't do it. If you were going to go with somebody who was more of a flyer, I would probably. I don't know, Blayne. Who would be your flyer if you were going to go with that? Maybe for me it would be Gressel. Not on the road with Colorado. I feel like that would be a bit more of a flyer pick this week. Or with
Yeah,
Columbus.
um, maybe Shihos with Chicago, double home, Miami without Messi. Who knows what that's going to look like? He likes to get on set pieces. Miami without Miami last couple of weeks has not really been that impressive. Not as they could be. I know, but I know they could easily turn it back around. They've got too many players. And then they've got Charlotte on the second one, which is another opportunity just to pick up some points either side of the ball. So She-Host would be my flyer if you want somebody really random and hit that double home.
Yeah, someone who produces some bonus points, I think it'd be good, either offensively or defensively. And if you do end up wanting to go with Barrial, I think he has to be 100% a bench play this round. Going to chat real quick. Looks like we've got some similar thoughts there with chat. Yeah, people looking at various Seattle options there in the back, and yeah, a lot of Lennon and Barrial and people right there. So looking like some chalk there potentially as we're going into this final round. Let's move over to midfield, though. That's where a lot of the nice point production is. I love it. Blayne, who are you looking at?
Yeah, this was weird for me this week. Almada was the first guy in coming off that break. Easy pick for me. I had Herrera until I found out he was injured or suspended, and that really kind of sucks for my team. Lucho was right there on that kind of first draft, but I've dropped him out. I just worry about the rotation there, and I don't know what he's gonna see. So that leaves me going for some of the not necessarily second tier, but like Mukhtar is next one up. I'm not sure I like these matchups as well, but I mean, again, he's been good for us and probably the next guy in. Heel's another one. I don't know what his status is going to be. Another guy I would like to see a lot of good production from. So that leaves me going elsewhere as well. And so Click actually came to mind from DC.
Hmm.
Had some decent production lately. I think that Austin game is one where he could easily get some production, and then home to New York City, that's kind of hit or miss, but I didn't see a lot that I liked in the premium status. A guy like Pooch is there. It's a double road. Seattle's defense has been a little hit or miss. We haven't been as high on them down the stretch. Minnesota, same way, kind of not sure what to make there, but then Pooch has been really streaky as well. So don't know where to go with all of these. It may be looking at somebody young, hungry, or see what the lineups look like. And it'll probably be watch for that rotation in those first few games, see which midfielders facing a more rotated opponent and maybe try to capitalize on that and use that as my tiebreaker for who I'm bringing in and who I'm not. But yeah, this week I feel like it's rough for midfielders. I think there's a lot of good second tier options, but not a lot of standouts. So I think we're going to see a lot of variance, which is always good for the game. I just don't know who I'm picking, and that's kind of where I'm at now. With the way things are going, Driussi maybe the first time he gets in my team all season. I feel like Austin's fighting for that spot. If they can make it into the playoffs, he's going to have to go off here a little bit and make something happen now. And the matchups aren't terrible for Austin. So maybe it's go with somebody like that and hope they get hot right now. But yeah, I don't know. This one's wild.
So I'll do Ashley first. Ashley has Amada, Gazdog, Lucho, Heel. She says Hollingshead, maybe Mukhtar or Busquets. So I didn't get the Hollingshead update from her.
That's Herrera. But
oh, you're right. That is Hector Herrera. I don't know why I was
he's
thinking
suspended
of
for that first game too.
I don't know why I was thinking Hollingshead. Yeah, Herrera. She missed that one as well. Amada was not my first player in my team, but he's definitely one that I did add in there to round out my top five. I'm still looking at Gald. I think he's got good point potential, so as long as he's not getting rotated, this is a game that is it's important for Vancouver. They've got an opportunity to get into the top four, and so these are two important games for them to play for, and Gald is crucial for that production there. I originally had Acosta in my team. I took him out. I looked at Driussi. I know that he had a bit of a hamstring issue, which kept him out of the Colorado game, so a little question there. I've since added Acosta back into my team, but I will have him on the bench 100%. Just had the contract signed, marquee player for FC Cincinnati. He may have minutes managed more than sitting a game out, so maybe starting and coming out at halftime or coming in late in the game. But there's just nothing left to play for Cincinnati. New York Red Bulls have a history of being able to shut down some of those playmakers, so that Red Bulls game may not be one that they go all the way in. So I think he has to be a bench player regardless of what you're looking at there. And then to round out my players, I am also looking at Velasco from Dallas. He had some good production last week. He's been one of the more consistent players that Dallas has, but he doesn't necessarily go full 90s. So I don't know how much you can expect from him in these last two games. But Colorado is questionable at times. San Jose does give up goals both ways, so there are opportunities for goals right there. And I think Velasco's a pretty good shout, 7.6. Fantastic price if you're even remotely considering that as well. And I don't remember if I mentioned Heel or not, but he is also on my team, kind of rounding out that top five that I'm looking at. Some of the others that you could look at, I know I also considered Reynoso, but I think I like some of these matches better, but he's another one you could throw into the mix. You could look at, so we're going to have to, pardon me as I butcher the name, but Chionner over in Montreal. He's been one of the more consistent midfield offensive producers for them as well, and so I think that's another one you could maybe put into your rotation. I don't know about Mukhtar. That home away rotation, I don't know. I think he's been a very mixed bag this year, so he doesn't quickly come into a top 5 or even a 6 or 7 necessarily for me a lot of the times this season. And then I know Ashley had also mentioned Gazdag. He only played 45 minutes. From the little bit of research I was trying to do, chat, please chime in if you haven't. I don't know why, but as far as Philadelphia goes, Atlanta is kind of a tough team to host, and then the next round when they have to also then host Nashville, that might be the better game for them. Nashville can struggle on the road, but they're getting some more of their pieces back. So I don't know if that's the easiest round for Philly, even with a double home.
Yeah, that's why didn't have Gazdag in my list. I just don't know what to make of them. No Wagner in that first game kind of hurts the whole team's offensive production just a little bit. That's just a rough 2 games. I'm hoping Gazdag rested last week a little bit, getting ready for the double home against got teams around them in the standings. I mean, they need to stay ahead of these two, and so getting a win in either one of them really helps them stay ahead and get that first home game that they want.
And let's not forget, it was Christian mentioned it in chat, and we touched on it before with the defensive section, but Philly's defense significantly weakened with 2 starters out. So that's the big worry there, and I think is factoring into some of the Atlanta choices that people have this round 100%.
Well, I think it's affecting the offensive choices for Philly as well. They'll see less of the ball. They'll get less service with Wagner out. If they're having to track back deeper on defense, that's less potential for everybody involved.
Absolutely. All right, let's okay, good. Yes, Chionner, Montreal was mentioned in chat. I was like, I said Montreal, didn't I? Yes, absolutely. So one of the underdog shots right there. Let's move on now to forward picks. It's a pretty good round for forwards. I think, Blayne, don't know who you are thinking about, but I'm interested in hearing it right now.
Yeah, there are a wealth of options at forward this week. I settled for 3 guys, 2.5 really. I'm worried about one of them. But Bouanga and White were really easy ads for me this week. I like those matchups. Bouanga hasn't done as much lately as I'd like, but I think he's due for a bounce back, a gambler's fallacy, whatever you say. But that first game at home looks pretty good. Minnesota's hit or miss at times, and then on the road to Austin's not a bad game. White has just been scoring consistently right now. That's sticking with the hot player. I think both of those matchups are ones where he can score. Ashley will always tell you Cascadia games are a nightmare to work with. Vancouver going to Seattle. That's not one that scares me. That's not a defense that does that because Cascadia just goes crazy. So I don't hate that game because it's a road game against what we're kind of looking at as a good defense. I could see that one being a goal fest because that's what happens in that series. And then the other guy I like, and I think he's going to be on yellow card warning, but we're talking about it quite a bit. I like Gigi from Atlanta coming in off the break. The Philly road game would scare me, but they're down so many guys. There's been some rotation, and they're rested. Philly's coming off a double game week. Atlanta had a bye last week, so they're going to be fresh. They're going to be ready to go. I think that's a good game to get involved in. And then they're home to Columbus, which is another one. I think that's good matchup for them. Good chances to get stuff going. I liked Almada as my midfielder. I like Gigi in this one to try to get a goal in each game. Again, we're talking playoff standings. Um, Atlanta's what 2 points behind Philly and a point behind Columbus. If they pick up both of these, they jump into fourth place in the Eastern Conference by their own will. That's a team I think is hungry. That's a team I think you go for, and this is massive playoff implications. So it's hard for me to shy away from teams in that situation. And I think I was looking at it when I was doing this. Gigi scored in 3 of his last 4 games as well, which is also something I like. He's in form. If he's finding that goal scoring form that we want him to have, that we thought he would have all year, now's the time to have him when they're hunting for the playoffs.
Yeah, Ashley has some agreement with you. She likes Cucho, she likes Boanga, and she likes White or Jesus. I've seen a lot of Jesus in lineups and a lot of Cucho. I've been doing some thinking back and forth. I like White for all the reasons that you mentioned. And you know what? I like Gigi at this point. He's got some good production. I don't know if he'll go full 90s, but probably in the 80s is what he tends to do. I think with that Philly defense, there's definitely some opportunity right there. So I definitely like Gigi for this week. A lot of it comes down. I don't have Jesus, and I think that's because, well, not think. I know that's because I have Valesco. I think that's given me the offensive coverage I'm looking for. Jesus can be a little spotty recently, so I don't know about that production. I like Bawanga against Minnesota and then away to Austin. I think there's some good potential there. But I tell you, the one I'm still toying with right now for that third spot, because that's what's up for grabs. I may run 3 forwards this round. Is I like Swiderski. I think that's kind of an underdog right there. It's home to Toronto, and we know that Toronto gives up goals, so they've been struggling. They're out of the playoffs as well, and then on the road to Chicago, who is also a team that's not solid, and then you can expect to have some weaknesses with. So Swiderski is rounding out the season with 2 double game weeks, and the next one's going to be at Miami and home to Miami, so that's going to be a fun little one for there. But that Toronto Chicago it's a pretty nice game. He's coming on 2 goals over his last 3 games after a big dry spell, so not the best form. But I think definitely one for you to throw around as if you're going to run 3 forwards. I think he'd be up there as potentially. And then I didn't mention Cucho. The double away game always puts me some pause, even with a player of his caliber, but always a little bit of pause with that. But I think, yeah, Bawanga, Jesus, Cucho, Swiderski, I think are definitely all in contention for a lot of people as third forward spots. Let me check over there. Gigi Way. Arango. We have Gene mentioning Arango. That's definitely someone you could take a look at and see with the not having the double. I don't know what that's going to impact, but Cincy against Sporting Kansas City, if you think it's just going to be, if you think Blayne's team's going to get creamed with like a hat trick, then who knows? Who knows? He could get up there. If you're gonna go the single game week team, RSL's probably the better choice. But I think really you're going to want to be focusing on the double game week teams with the sheer volume of them that we have.
So I think Arango's a good one to touch on here. I'm not going with it, but Arango's a guy you have to highlight this week as if you get down to the end of the round and your bench hasn't hit and you're struggling to find stuff. I do auto ruse. I always advocate run a 3-guy Ottaru on the bench, take the 2 best scores. Well, if one of your 2 best scores is like a 4 or a 5, absolutely throw a Rongo in if you've got a forward spot open. Like absolutely scrub out one of your doubles and go with it. That's probably not the game where I would look for a defender, but if both of your bench defenders, if you run that way for double game weeks, are sitting on low scores, that's a game to take a flyer on. That's your single game week option at the tail end. Throw caution to the wind if everything else has been bad and you need just to fill in or replace a scrub with somebody to try to get a few more points. Look at RSL, and as you're planning, if you're thinking 2 forwards, 3 forwards, maybe Arango is position starts as a scrub and you can flip to him if a couple of your more high risk forwards don't hit or your bench plays don't hit. So I think that's a great one to have as a single game week fallback because it's so late in the round.
Yeah, 100%. That is the value of Toronto this week is that that flexibility. Toronto. That is the value of RSL this week because of that flexibility that they give you. Well said. Well said. Let's wrap everything up. Go ahead.
The other one, I think I mentioned it, but it's been talked about a couple of times. GG for Atlanta is on yellow card warning. He will be on a yellow card warning this week. So we talked him up. We like Atlanta. That is the risk we are running with that play.
100%. Let's wrap things up with forward. It looks like it's 3 across the board. Blayne, who you have?
Didn't we just do forward?
I mean, captain.
Oh, captain.
Captain. Sorry.
Yeah, I think everything we said. I didn't really like all of my midfield picks. Like it was like, okay, there's one name I want, and the rest of them are just like hit or miss. Yellow card warning for some strikers, and just hit or miss. It's Almada. He's got the best matchups, best situation, and he's the only guy that I was like, oh yeah, I have to take him. Everybody else I've been looking at, who can I replace him with, or they're on yellow card warning.
I agree. Yeah, I love that first game with the potential matchup there. I think they definitely have a chance against Columbus when they're kicking that off for the second game on the road, or when Columbus is on the road to Atlanta. So I think there's a lot of good positives. We've seen his skill, and especially if GG does not get a yellow during that first game, I think it's going to be very productive for them. So I like Almada. Very definitely going to be the captain. If not Almada, then who? We didn't even mention Messi. Do we think he's even going to play?
I feel like that injury is bigger than what they've let on. Like I assumed if he was good to go, he would be going. Like but I was upfront on that at the beginning. I think there has to be a real reason to hold him out, given the way ticket prices have gone since he got here, and the way it's been billed and all the dealings. I think it's a real injury. I don't know that he plays much. I really don't. And without him out there, I struggle to go with too much of Miami in general. And yeah, that first game's going to be telling. But man, they need both of these to really have any chance at the playoffs.
So if not Almada, then who?
If not Almada, I don't even know. Like that's so hard. Part of me wants to say Mukhtar just because he's the next best midfielder I can think of for the round. Part of me goes, let's take Bouanga or White and go for the boomer bust with the forward and
I would say White. Yeah, I would say White.
Yeah. It really depends on what you need. If you need points and you need the swing to move up in the standings, take a few risks. Go with somebody like White who could get you a nice 40-point week. Or if you don't need that, take Mukhtar, who may be a little bit steadier production, won't be as swingy, but you can hold your spot easier.
Excellent. Chat real quick. Yeah, Almada across the board definitely going to be the captain, the chalk captain, which may be what you want to do as you're wrapping up the season, trying to secure your place in Champions League or secure your ideal ranks that you would be going for. But it could definitely be some time to have some fun with your captain pick if you want to go for just swing for the fences and go from there. So we shall see. But that's all that we have for the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We have 2 more episodes left for this season, 1 more tips episode, and then our annual recap episode. We will try to get Skylar on the show. He's been hard to get this year, but get him on to talk about what's coming up for 2024, as well as the poll to get feedback from you all about what you hope to see and how satisfied you were with the season this year. So that's going to be coming up. But we still have one more round left. Don't forget, games lock at 7:30 on Wednesday, and this is not a triple game week. They should update for the game, but if it's not by the time you look at it, no triple game week. Just be aware of that. It should still be a lot of fun. I look forward to hearing what your scores are. And until then, as always, good luck.